Hi everyone, welcome back to this channel. In today's video I'm going to show you how to transform this vehicle into a moving vehicle. It's currently static. If I render this is what it looks like. It's a model I created about 5 years back, and it's available on Sketchfab. I'll share that link. But today what we'll be doing is to make the vehicle move by using gyro constraints. So I've shown in the last video how to use gyro constraints using a cube. We're going to use something similar here, but this time we're going to have the vehicle body on the cube. The cube will serve as a parent to the body, and it will move the body while the wheels move the cube. So what I'll look at first is to see that this vehicle is in parts. So I'll need to merge all this together. Now what I need to do is select this and shift select the body and then Ctrl J. So I'll select the bumper, shift select the body and Ctrl J, then select. So if I come back here to modifier, you see that this has a few things on the modifier. I need to Ctrl A and apply this, and then shift select the body and Ctrl J. Now if I press H, you see that there's just a few items in the vehicle. There's the seats. So I press Option H, I'll have to select each of them, and the bumper in the back also has a modifier. I'll press Ctrl A, apply that, shift select the body, Ctrl J, and the windows I'll just select that together, Ctrl J, so G. So it's just a few items remaining. I'll go into wireframe mode and select that, and then Ctrl J. So when I go back into render view, so now we have the bus combined into a single item. If I press G, you can see it's just the wheels. And what I'll do next is to press Shift C to put the cursor in the center of the world, and then we realize that that's actually the center of the bus. So if I press G on the bus, you can see that yellow dot mode. Press Shift A and bring in the cube, and go into front view, tap into edit mode, S to reduce the size of the cube, GZ to bring it up to that point, so it's going to be a bit into the bus, GZ in as well. Go into wireframe mode, tap into edit mode. So when you're resizing, you could do that in edit mode. When you're moving, do that in solid view, because that dot there needs to remain in center. So if I press SX and then and the SX is related to the x-axis, that the red line is the x-axis, in fact the green line is the y-axis. If I go to top view, I can press SY, increase the length of that. And the reason I'm doing that is I want to tie the constraints to the wheels and then use the cube as a parent to the bus. So when the wheels are moving the cube is moving the bus. So for now I'm going to press H and hide the bus, and then we're going to work on the constraints for the wheels. So I need to make sure that the wheels also have the center of origin within them. So I'm going to press select the wheel object, set origin to geometry. Same thing for that. That's in the middle, that's in the middle, that's in the middle. So those are fine. Next thing I want to do is select this wheel, Shift S, cursor selected, Shift A, add in a cylinder. I'll come here and reduce that to 8. We don't need something too fantastic in terms of the number of vertices, so I can reduce the radius and then the depth as well. I can still reduce the radius further. So I press the dot key and go close. I can then GX and bring it out, and then RY 90 in line with the wheel. So I'll just select this and save incremental. So I'll just name this axle FL, and I'll name the wheel. In the meantime, I'll just name the rest as well, wheel back left. I'm going to go into physics tab and then click on rigid body active, select the axle, rigid body active, select the body, rigid body active. So next thing I'm going to do is to work with the wheel and the axle first. Select the axle, the wheel, go to the object menu, rigid body, and connect. So first constraint we're going to add will be the motor constraint. I need to have it in the center of the wheel. So if I press the wheel and Shift S, cursor selected, and then select the constraint, Shift S, selection cursor, so it's in the middle of the wheel, and then I'll go down here and select motor. I can have, and we already have the object selected, so I'll just select angle. So if I go into object mode, we also need to select this and add a rigid body, but before I do that, if I press this, you see it goes through the floor because they now have gravity. So if I select this, I need to select rigid body passive. So when you try this, it falls to the ground. So now you can see that these two are combined, but the wheel is trying to turn somewhere. So in order to make it to actually see, where it turns to, I can increase this target velocity and max impulse to 7. And when I play this, it tries to turn forwards, and that's where we want it to turn to. We need to lock the wheel to the axle, so I'm going to select the 2 one more time. I could just add a new one. I could just duplicate this, so I could go to front and shift D and bring that to the middle between the wheel and the axle, and change that to generic. And we would want the constraint to allow rotation on the x-axis, so we'll leave the x, but we don't want any rotation on the y and z axis, so I'll put those at 0. We don't want any linear movement on the x, y, and z axis, so I'll put those 2 at 0. So when we run this now, see the wheel is falling onto the ground because of the weight of the axle on the left. So next is to now connect the axle to the body. So I'll select the both of them. I'll go to object and rigid body and connect. If I press 1 to go in front, G, and bring that close to the center of the axle. If I go to top view, it's actually there. I'll press GY and bring it to the center of the axle. So next thing I want to do with this is to change this to a generic spring. And what we want with this is that we want the vehicle to be able to sort of bounce on a spring vertically. So I'm going to lock the angles, and then on the linear I'm going to lock the x and y. We don't want any movement on the x and y axis, so I'm going to select the x axis because I want it bouncing on this axis. So one other thing I need to do is to select the cube and select box as a shape. Select the axle and change the shape from convex hull to cylinder. Select the wheel, change the shape to cylinder. You can see that it's not properly aligned with the wheel, so what I'll do is select the wheel, tap into edit mode, A to select all, go to front view, RY90, it's the other way around, so RY minus 90, and then tap into object mode. You can see it's now properly aligned. So I'll now press RY90 and it's properly positioned now. So I select this, it has its own rigid body around it. So now when I press the space bar, when I press it now, you see that the body is falling all the way to the ground. And that's probably because the height that we've allowed for that constraint is too high at 1 meter. So I'm just going to change this to minus 0.1 and the upper 0.1 as well. But we only have to change the vertical axis, so you can see it's now locked onto that height. I'm going to do the same thing to the other wheels. Now that I've done all the wheels, let's see what it looks like. So it's like there's a bit of push from the back. It's possibly because the height here is too much, the generic spring. We plate now, you see that now it's moving the cube. So basically the next thing we'll do is to bring in the boss body, and this is what it looks like. And when I play again, you'd see the wheels are trying to move away from the boss, but next thing I'll do is actually lock the boss onto the cube. So I'm going to select the boss and then select the boss and the cube and shift and control P and keep it transform. And when I go back to object mode and I click on the play, you can see now the boss is moving. So we could extend this, but just gonna put shift A, add a new plane, and then tap into edit mode, S, Y, and just say 20. So I need to convert this to rigid body and passive, and then press, and then you can see the boss moves. Next thing I could do is just add some material to this. I could go into object mode and then when you play this, you see the vehicle is moving on the tarred road. The beauty of this is that you can actually put a block in front of the boss and it tries to climb the block. So if I shift select that, shift A, add a cube, so when I play it now, the boss needs to climb over it. You can see the boss climbs over the wheel. Yep. So in today's lesson, I've tried to add the rigid constraints to the wheel of the boss, and we've been able to make the boss move and to also climb over a stumbling block here, the bumper. So if you've seen the video I posted about the 747 jet constraints as well, that'll be the next video. So if you like this, feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks, cheers.